What's up, guys? If you've been living under a rock or perhaps on Pluto, then you might not know that this little icy body has had one wild ride when it comes to its classification. Is Pluto a planet, or is it just a cosmic underdog who got kicked out of the cool kids club? Grab your spacesuits, because we're about to take a journey to Pluto and explore 3 reasons why it technically deserves to be a planet. It's got more to it than meets the eye. The cool factor of Pluto. Let's talk atmosphere and conditions. First things first, let's set the scene. Pluto is no ordinary rock just floating aimlessly through space. It's actually a pretty fascinating place. For starters, did you know Pluto has an atmosphere? Sure, it's not the breathable, cozy air we enjoy here on Earth, but it's still an atmosphere nonetheless. It's made up of nitrogen, methane, and carbon monoxide. Nitrogen, which makes up most of Earth's atmosphere, is essential for life as we know it, while methane, well, let's just say it makes Pluto smell a bit funky. If Pluto had residents, we'll leave that up to the imagination. It's safe to say they'd have to get used to a rather distinct scent. Now let's talk about the temperature. If you think your freezer is cold, buckle up, because Pluto's current temperature is a jaw-dropping -232 degrees Celsius or -386 degrees Fahrenheit. That's cold even by space standards. Stick a popsicle on Pluto, and it would stay frozen for eternity. It's so far from the sun, it's almost hard to believe it's still part of the same solar system. But despite its frosty reputation, Pluto orbits the sun just like any other planet. Sure, it's hard to spot the sun from Pluto's location, it's barely a blip on the horizon, but it's still there shining away. So according to the basic definition of a planet, where the object must orbit a star, Pluto checks that box with ease. Sure, it might be out in the distant reaches of the solar system, but it's still doing the orbit thing like a champ. So even if it's not in the planet club anymore, Pluto's got the essentials locked down. Pretty cool, right? The criteria for being a planet. What does it take? Now you might be asking, what makes a planet a planet? Well, let's break it down into 3 simple criteria. First, it must orbit a star check. Second, it must have enough mass and gravity to form a round-shaped check again. And third, it needs to have cleared its orbit of other debris well. Here's where Pluto starts to stumble. Let's tackle the second criterion first, having enough mass and gravity to form a spherical shape. When it comes to Pluto, this one's a no-brainer. Despite its smaller size compared to other planets, Pluto is indeed round. It's not some weird, irregularly shaped rock like an asteroid. It's a perfectly spherical object, which is something only planets can claim. So point 2 goes to Pluto with flying colors. But hold up, there's still that third criterion to tackle. According to the International Astronomical Union, for an object to be considered a planet, it must have cleared the area around its orbit. In simpler terms, it needs to have a gravitational force strong enough to sweep up all the smaller objects and debris in its orbit. Unfortunately for Pluto, this is where things get tricky. Pluto resides in the Kuiper Belt, a region of space beyond Neptune that's packed with icy bodies and asteroids. Some of these objects are even larger than Pluto itself, and Pluto's orbit shares space with them. So Pluto hasn't cleaned up the area around its orbit, meaning it doesn't meet all 3 criteria. And bam, that's why Pluto got booted from the Planet Squad and was reclassified as a dwarf planet in 2006. Ouch. Despite its fascinating features and charm, Pluto didn't quite make the cut for official planet status, at least not in the eyes of the IAU. So while it might not be a planet in the strictest sense, it's still holding its own as a super cool celestial body in our solar system. The great Pluto debate. Is it really that bad? Pluto has had a rough time. For 80 years, it was considered a planet in our solar system. It had its heyday, hanging out with the big guys like Earth and Mars. But then, thanks to the discovery of large objects around Pluto's orbit, it lost its planetary status faster than you can say Astronomical Union. Thanks Neil deGrasse Tyson for pulling the rug out from under our little guy. But here's the thing, Pluto still deserves some recognition. I mean, who wants to be the one to say that Pluto isn't a planet? It's like telling your friend they can't sit at the lunch table because they're not wearing the right brand of shoes. Pluto's been mistreated, and there's definitely an argument to be made that it's being unfairly singled out. Just because it didn't meet the full criteria doesn't mean it's any less awesome. And don't forget, Pluto has some interesting landscape features too. Sure, we're not talking about a lush green garden or a sprawling city like on Earth, but Pluto does have mountains, yes, actual mountains. These mountains are made of water ice, which makes them even cooler. While mountains on a celestial body don't technically factor into the planetary definition, Pluto's got some serious elevation, and that's a cool thing for sure. The heart of the matter, should we reconsider Pluto? Let's be honest for a moment. Yes, Pluto has its quirks, and no, it doesn't check all the boxes to be considered a planet by the International Astronomical Union. But that doesn't mean we should turn our backs on it just because of a technicality. If we were all judged by how well we fit into some rigid classification system, a lot of us would be in trouble, and let's be real, Pluto deserves some love. Imagine this: what if Pluto absorbed all the icy objects in the Kuiper Belt? It could gain mass, and in theory, it might even become as massive as Mercury or Mars. Okay, that's highly unlikely. Don't get your hopes up, Pluto. But wouldn't it be pretty epic to see Pluto rise from the ashes and reclaim its title as a full-fledged planet? Picture the drama as Pluto becomes the heavyweight champ of the solar system, finally claiming the respect it deserves. But of course, it's a little more complicated than that. Pluto's orbit is delicately balanced with Neptune's, so if Pluto were to suddenly gain mass and disrupt that balance, things could get messy. The gravitational forces between the two are in a sweet spot, and any big changes could cause ripple effects that mess with the entire solar system's stability. As much as we might want to see Pluto shine as a planet again, nature's delicate cosmic dance might just have other plans. Still, a little what if never hurt anyone, right? Pluto's future, a planet in spirit. So what does all this mean for Pluto? Is it forever stuck as a dwarf planet, or is there still a glimmer of hope for its future? Unfortunately, we can't really change the scientific definition of what constitutes a planet. But hey, we can always appreciate Pluto for what it is, a charming, icy rock with a rich history and some seriously epic mountains. At the end of the day, Pluto may not officially be a planet, but that doesn't make it any less fascinating. Sure, it may not be as massive or famous as Jupiter or Saturn, but Pluto is still a major player in the cosmic game. So the next time someone calls Pluto a dwarf planet, remember it's been through a lot. It's still out there, rocking its cosmic journey, and it has way more personality than some of the bigger planets. Pluto might not be a planet in the strictest sense, but it's definitely not lacking in coolness. It's like the ultimate underdog story, one of those cosmic characters that doesn't get all the attention, but is secretly one of the best. Let's keep rooting for Pluto, the tiny celestial body that could. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll all be talking about how Pluto made its comeback, and we'll be able to say, "I told you so." Until then, Pluto, keep doing your thing out there in the Kuiper Belt. You may not be a planet, but you'll always have a special place in our hearts. After all, it's not about size, it's about the spirit. And Pluto? It's got spirit. And that's a wrap on Pluto's planetary saga. Whether you think it deserves to be a planet again or not, one thing's for sure, it's still one of the coolest objects in our solar system. If you enjoyed this cosmic ride and want more fun, make sure to like this video and subscribe. Drop a comment below and let me know. Do you think Pluto should reclaim its planet status? Let's keep this conversation going. Until next time, keep looking up and exploring the universe, one wild theory at a time.